Good afternoon. Calling the informational meeting, Sioux Falls City Council, Tuesday, September 1st, 2015 to order. First item on the agenda would be Urbanized Development Commission's update. Do we have Councilman Jameson?
I could pinch it here for this. I did bring the agenda, as a lot of you have been there before. We only had 3 items maybe. It was the final draft of the 2016-2019 Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP, and one slight revision to the TIP. And the TIP is a 4-year program, you should know. It outlines the MPO's area and all of the spending within it by each branch of government. And as well, we reviewed a 2040 long-range transportation plan. So other than that, nothing really new out of it. Previous meetings, we discussed the finer details of each of those plans. So if you'd like to see them, they're available on the city's website and or at siouxfallsmpo.org.
Thank you, Councilman. Next will be City Council open discussion. Any items for open discussion? Councilman Jameson.
Just one, I wanted to update the council. I think it was, just check my calendar, I believe it was Friday. It's funny how this time passes with the events we had with the rain. But on Friday, I was in Pierre for it was Friday. A South Dakota Municipal League invited the South Dakota Association of Counties together. We put together 10 Municipal League members and 10 county members, and we sat around a table and talked about issues that the counties were facing and the cities were facing, and tried to come up with items that we could address as the legislative session nears. We did come up with an item that we all agreed on after some negotiating. I'm not quite at liberty to share with you what that is yet because they have to each get it approved by their other bodies. But I can tell you that there's a certainly a lot of new energy involved in coming up with funding solutions for the county. And it's really exciting stuff. It's really a lot like our joint committee meetings that we set up with Lincoln County, Minnehaha County, and the council. Very good stuff. Look for those more information to come out as each body approves what we discussed, but it was a very good meeting, and I think it'll make our community better, and that's bottom line. So that's all I have.
Okay. Councilor Offenbach.
Thank you. I'm going to just be kind of crabby. Item 32 on the agenda tonight is for a liquor license that's for an event that is supposed to happen tonight. And this isn't, can you help us, Lori? Is it a typo? Please let it be a typo.
I just received an email back from Jamie Palmer. Oops, I'm sorry. I just received an email back from Jamie Palmer, and she said that the event is actually in about 25 minutes at 4:30. However, it is a private event and no money is exchanging hands, and she can certainly withdraw the item tonight because it would be moot to consider it tonight.
That would be great. Among us, we've done this a few times where we've approved things that are either like tonight or tomorrow night, and we've approved them anyway, and it's just really starting to bug me. And partly people will say, well, we just didn't know that it was a deadline, or we didn't know. You've been planning this event for how long, and you didn't know you needed a liquor license? Come on. So I'm just asking for common sense, and I was going to actually pull the item from the agenda and physically vote no, but I just want people to understand we don't do this just for fun. It really is. It's part of state law, and I just said it was going to be crabby. Sorry. I just wanted you to hear that. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, any other items? I'd like to take a moment and ask the mayor to step up to the podium for a moment and speak about the event that happened yesterday as far as the railroad relocation signing. I think it would be a great thing to speak again about, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
Sure, I'd be honored. Thank you, Councilor Chair Anderson Jr. Appreciate it. Certainly a big day for the city and the state yesterday. We were able to execute a deal with Burlington Northern, utilizing the earmarked funds that were received back in 2005, thanks to the leadership of folks like Senator Tim Johnson and Senator John Thune and others. So yeah, it was a joyous day. A lot of work has gone into it since 2001, if you can believe it, 2001. But again, it's real now. And so now what happens is that we do have to close the deal, just like you would on a home, only this is a much more expensive home. And then after that closing is done, Burlington Northern will have up to 2 years to not only build some siding tracks, but also, work to remove those rail lines that are down there, all but 2 of them. And then what we're hoping to do as a city is within about 16 months to 18 months, actually start to that process with the RFPs in terms of what should we put down there in that 10 acres of land. Again, no rush. Unless you were to ask some developers who are already dreaming big and have been dreaming big for a long, long time. But again, Council Chair Anderson Jr., thank you for being there yesterday as well, and it was thoroughly an enjoyable day and a great memory. Did you have any specific questions, sir?
No questions. I just wanted to allow you to speak about it again.
Thank you.
And I thought it was something that, over the time period I've been on the council, Councilman Jameson, pretty much all of us now have understood the importance of this and the hard work that you and your staff have done to keep it alive.
Thank you.
And to keep it moving forward. And I think in 20, 30 years, people in Sioux Falls will really understand what was done here.
Thank you. And again, it was certainly a collaborative effort. The city team certainly did a lot of work, but you can't imagine all the men and women that were involved in this particular project. From the state of South Dakota, from the United States government, private individuals, and certainly Burlington Northern, all figured out a way to make this happen. And ultimately, we're all going to celebrate and all going to win. And we'll certainly reap the rewards for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council Chair.
All right. Any other items? Okay, we'll move on to presentations. City-county partnerships by the city administration.
Council Chair Anderson Jr., thank you so much for this opportunity. Councilors, thank you as well. I had the opportunity to engage our Minnehaha County Commissioners this morning and gave them a very, very similar presentation, and it certainly was a lot of fun. And Councilor Urbanbach, you said you're maybe a bit crabby, but I think you're going to enjoy this one as well, because really it's a really good news story that I'm going to share with all of you today. I want to introduce Jeff Schmidt. Jeff Schmidt is our liaison with the county in terms of on the executive branch, and so Jeff is here as well. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask either Jeff or myself. But a while back, I did ask the city team to begin to really put down all the ways that we partner with Minnehaha County. And what happened is that we found it was truly an eye-opening experience, all the ways that we collaborate with the county, that we team up. I'm not going to go through every single one of those today, but I am going to give you just a brief summary of some of the big ways that the taxpayers of the city and the county are winning because of those collaborative efforts. Also, I want to make something very, very clear before I start. This is not a scorecard in terms of, okay, the county does this, the city does this, and who's winning. It's not that, as well as I'm not going to talk about, all right, who's paying more for this or who's paying more for that. I don't think that's important. I think that what is important is the partnership that we've been building here for decades. Do want to celebrate, all the things that we are accomplishing together. I'm going to touch on 3 things, really: facilities, programming, and then land use and zoning. And again, it's not a comprehensive list. Now, Heather Hitterdahl and Jeff and the finance team, we have put together what we feel is a really, really comprehensive list, and we've shared that with you as well in a separate document. So if you have the time, feel free to go through that. Let's start with shared facilities. The big one probably is the Law Enforcement Center. It was opened in 2003. The city owns it, but it was constructed on land that was actually provided by the county. So much goes on there, whether it be our Emergency Operations Center, a training space. We have an indoor firing range there, of course, meeting rooms. So much to try to help work to keep our people safe. The Law Enforcement Center also, facilitates joint operations, including the Drug Task Force, the Fugitive and Violent Offender Task Force, the Crimes Against Children's Task Force, and of course our SWAT teams and our bomb squad. And I think it's important to understand that our SWAT team and our bomb squad, they actually serve more than just the city of Sioux Falls. So that something is happening in Minnehaha County, and yes, in many cases across the state, our team goes there because of the expertise and as well as the resources that we have. Siouxland Health and Human Services Building, again, opened in 2007. And as most of you know, Falls Community Health is there, our City Health Department, County Human Services, and our Multicultural Center. At a time when healthcare is just in such desperate need for so many, this is that single access point for a number of patients and clients within our city and within our county. Other partnerships that we have involving facilities, land libraries. Counselors, you know that we've got 5 libraries within our city, but we've got 8 libraries outside of Sioux Falls that we partner together on. Baltic, Brandon, Colton, Crooks, Garrettson, Hartford, Humboldt, and Valley Springs. Not only do we have that infrastructure, but we also have a traveling bookmobile that travels throughout the city and the county. Siouxland Heritage Museum. We share the overall administrative costs for the Pettigrew Museum, as well as then you also are aware of the old courthouse museum that the county administrator administers, but we jointly fund. Sanitary landfill. I know we don't think about this, but it is a regional landfill. 32 cities are served by our regional landfill within the city, and 5 counties, of course, including Minnehaha County. The W.H. Lyon Fairgrounds. The county owns and operates, but the city, we use that parking lot out there for police training. Of course, we also use that parking lot for leaf and tree drop-off at certain times of the year. And then, of course, during that winter, we pile a bunch of heavy snow out there. At the same time, we also do some things to help out there. We put down approximately 1,000 tons of asphalt every year out at the fairgrounds, and we've got a plan to do more. As you also know, we're doing some other things, like for the first time, and I did tell the county this today, that within the budget we are putting in, recommending $75,000 in partnership to help with desperately needed restrooms that are in desperate need of repair. Other partnerships. There is a rather unique one that we really don't talk about very much, and that is the Perry Nature Area is actually owned by the county on the east side of Sioux Falls. The property is owned by the county, but the city, we develop and we maintain a part of the property, of course, as you know, is the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum. And then the Multicultural Center, you know that partnership. Program partnerships that exist. Public safety. These crime lab services that we work on, whether it be blood alcohol, substance and fingerprint testing, evidence storage, crime scene processing, the countywide sex offender registry. Then the county, they do these background checks that we work in collaboration together, blood draws for the DWIs, and yes, the sobering center. We share costs when it comes to detox, the 911 dispatch center at Metro Communications, the EOC, and yes, the Police Reserve Emergency Management. Health and Human Services Center. Here's one thing that I bet you didn't know, and I know the county was a little surprised by this. The city, we provide 40,000 ride tickets right now to human services agencies within our county. The county distributes they just help distribute them, but 40,000 rides are provided through our Transit Pass It On program. Of course, Falls Community Health, Homeless Advisory Board, and the Homeless Warming Shelter. Election support, no surprise to anybody, whether it be absentee balloting for the elections or actually the ballot tabulation on election day. Technology, public safety software, GIS, and this is becoming a bigger collaborative deal all the time as this city and as this county grows. And then CityLink. Both city and county meetings are put on our the CityLink station. Then land use and zoning, and as you know, we make decisions as a team within this county and within this city. And as we look at zoning and land uses, we work in collaboration. The meeting with the county was quite interesting, and in fact, it really got enjoyable with the Q&A. First of all, they wanted to say, and it was interesting that they love how the council is certainly engaging the county more and more. And at the same time, they like the collaboration and the communication efforts of folks like Jeff. And then they also said, Mayor, they can't ever remember a time where a City of Sioux Falls mayor actually addressed the county commission. What we talked about was that we are going to have to find ways to collaborate even more. I mean, the reality of the situation is, and the county talked about it today, relying on the federal government to help pay for things that happen in county and city government is not reality anymore. Even state government, relying on the state to meet some of the financial needs that we have as a county and as a city is not reality either. So we are going to have to think outside of the box as a team to figure out, okay, these are some of the ways that we collaborate, and there's many, many more in the handout that Heather gave you, but we're also going to have to do it even more so. And there was intrigue from the county in terms of this concept. And that even talked about maybe even breaking down some of the barriers, some of the silos that exist amongst the county and the city today. And so I thought that was very, very interesting and very, very open. I also said this, and I mean it sincerely. I don't think there's a government entity in South Dakota that is squeezing more blood from that turnip than Minnehaha County right now. I believe that. They are being stretched thin because of not only the increased needs that they have to deal with, but because of the way that they are funded. When you rely on property tax revenues as really your primary source of revenue, it's not going to meet the needs for a growing county and growing services. So, Councilor Jameson, I commend you for attending that meeting. Because, yeah, it is about time that I think we get our head out of the sand statewide and work to address this desperate need, not only for Minnehaha County, but for the other 66 counties or 65 counties that are out there as well. Again, as we work together, we'll tackle these things, and the county was certainly interested in doing that. As we work together over at least the next 2.5 years that I am blessed to work with you, I certainly am willing to work on that effort as well. So is the team, and so if you've got ideas, if there's some things that you'd like us to tackle, we certainly will. But with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions that you may have of me or of Jeff.
Questions? Councilor from Boston.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for coming along with us. We've been talking about this with the county for a long time. A couple of things. Did you talk to them about the proposed building near Van Epps Park? Was that part of your conversation?
We did not. We did not talk about that. Now, we certainly understand through discussions that we've had about the potential new city services building, that the county is in desperate need of space. They're not hiring as many people as we are in the city government because they don't really have the funds to do that. But at the same time, they are truly, truly struggling with space needs. The one space item that did come up involved the new potential jail. And Commissioner Barth talked about, the reality that as this city grows, as this county grows, not everybody's a good neighbor. And folks are going to commit crimes. And when they do, the odds are good that our police team is going to find these folks that do it. And that puts a real big strain on the county. So we did talk about that, Counselor. But in terms of the new city services building, that did not come up.
Okay. One of the things that we've talked about is that idea that there's a group of people in Sioux Falls, and that's really governed by, there's essentially 3 forms of government overseeing all the same people. So we've talked about that a lot in our joint meetings with them. So I guess my other question for you then is, we're continuing to have this 3-way conversation. The county you didn't mention was Lincoln County. We're trying to have 3-way conversations, Minnehaha, Lincoln, and the city of Sioux Falls. I hope that you would join us at those meetings from here on out, and I hope that you would start to attend our the joint meetings that we do have when we have an actual agenda. I would hope that as much as you can be, that you would be part of that. That is part of the way that we're building relationships with those folks. We just hang out with them. We're here having meetings with them. We have conversations with them. It's an important part of our role as elected officials, so I'm glad to see that you went, but I hope you'll come to these meetings as well.
We talked about bringing business acumen to county government more and more, to city government more and more, and how we are going to have to find ways to tackle this. We didn't get into great detail in terms of all the ways that we can do that, but certainly those are the conversations that will be happening. I think that you're going to find that whether it's Councilor Urbanbach talking to a county commissioner or talking whether in Lincoln County or Minnehaha County, those discussions not only are occurring, but they have been occurring for years. Even way before I became the mayor, way before all of us became councilors. But the reality is that these discussions are probably going to get more and more intense. Just like Councilor Jameson said, we are at a point in county government especially, where these tough discussions about funding, who's going to pay for it, who's going to do what, is being discussed more and more and more. So the reality of the situation is, whether you do it in a just a, I don't know what you call it, a get-along meeting or whatever it was, or something that's more specific, these discussions are going to be happening, and certainly the mayor, the executive branch, the legislative branch, and others will be involved in those discussions.
Well, we have a meeting with them every month, so, it'd be great to start putting this on our agenda. Let's start having this conversation for real. I mean, we can, chit-chat about it all we want, but let's put it on the agenda. Let's start dealing with this for real in real open public meetings, and we need you to be there. There's lots of meetings we have with them when you're not here. So I'm just saying, let's put it on the agenda and let's all be here and let's talk about it.
I will do my best to attend as many meetings as I can. But one of the things that you understand very, very quickly when you're the mayor of this town, you're torn in terms of all the good things that you can attend, and I prioritize the best I can, and I think I do a pretty good job doing that. But there are times where I do have to say no.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Erickson.
Thank you. And I think you're reading my mind here. That was crazy. So I appreciate your comments, Michelle. The one thing that I have, my question is, appreciate this information. It's awesome. It's great to highlight that. And I know in your presentation you talked about continuing the conversation. I'm curious if there's specific areas that your team is focusing on, just in general, as we've had these breakout sessions and we've started to work with Cooper and Cotter and many of your team members and bringing them in, we've been able to accomplish a lot of low-hanging fruit that makes it easier for the citizens to do business with the county and the city. So I'm curious if you have a vision of specifics that you want to check off or add to your list, or what does that look like to you?
what we talked about this morning was to identify all those potential duplication of services, where you've got similar services that are being provided by separate entities called City of Sioux Falls or Minnehaha County. And you look at those and you try to identify, okay, is there a way to consolidate these? But that's where the issue of silo and ownership and who pays what and how much do they pay, that's where the challenge comes into play, Counselor. So what I mentioned was that when I was elected mayor, one of the first things I wanted to do was to, probably squeeze as much blood out of the city government turnip as we could. I try to find ways to become more efficient, more productive, more service-oriented. And I think we've done a great job doing that. But I do think now there is some opportunity to tackle this with those duplicative services that we have in county and city government. I'm not going to list all those today, but obviously in your conversations that you're having with the county, you've got ideas too. Right. But again, breaking those silos down, that I think is the real challenge. And that's probably when some of the politics comes into play too, and some of the ownership. But what we did say is that let's try to tackle it. I did mention, Councilor Bach, that there are some of these things too that I would be more than willing to be an ally for, or maybe even a face for, or a voice for. We talked about funding mechanisms for the county. Those are things that if they need another voice, if they need another face, I'd be happy to do that, depending on what the idea is. But I am going to be selective. I am. Just because there's so many great things that we can accomplish, not only in the city of Sioux Falls yet, but yes, in the county, and so I'll do my best to prioritize those as I can.
Just to follow up, if I may.
Please.
And I appreciate you taking the questions from us, and I just reiterate that hopefully those conversations, they do start here when we do those joint county meetings, and oftentimes those decisions that we're making in the breakout sessions, and we don't want to duplicate what we're already doing again and again by our efforts, and we want certainly you and your staff to be included in that, and so I would encourage you to hop on board those joint session meetings as well, because we do have some great conversations and build those relationships, and that's where it starts, is by building those. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for the advice.
Councilor Offenbach?
Just wanted to add to what Councilor Erickson was saying. She and I and Councilor Rolfing were on this one breakout session. We would meet at 7 o'clock in the morning once a month. Not even, it was more than that sometimes. But it included, city staff from planning and zoning, and then the same people from both counties. And it was down and dirty, and we looked at forms and we said, these things are the same. Let's just make sure everybody's logo's on them. We did that kind of just really basic stuff. We did it with planning and zoning. We did it with the Register of Deeds. And so you have to hear that your staff is already involved with that.
Absolutely.
That it's an amazing process. It just takes a lot of grinding through the yuck sometimes.
And Councilor Buck and Councilor Erickson, I think that's the way you should do it. I'll give you an example. I've got a gentleman who would like me to review the drainage issue that he had from the flood. And certainly, we'll make the effort to do that. But I'm not the drainage expert. I'm not the sanitary sewer line expert. I'm not the stormwater expert. I'm not. That's where you've got these women and men of city government who can be those people that you would want at those meetings, providing you whatever input that they could. And I think that's what a good leader does too, is that every now and then they delegate some things to the folks that actually are the experts. And that's what I'll continue to try to do.
Any other? Councilman Jameson.
Yes, again, thank you for answering and taking questions, because you could have easily just made your presentation. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Actually, it was the most fun part of the county meeting too, the Q&A. And that is my style anyways, answering questions and listening and learning too.
Well, I wanted to try to do this as delicately as I could. You are probably about a year behind us in all of those, trying to identify where we're duplicating services. And this body is addressing it, as Councilor Eric Erpenbach mentioned, the Lincoln County, Minnehaha County, and the City Council. And I would encourage you to think of it that way, because that really does encompass our community. And we broke down all those issues of duplication of services. And perhaps there needs to be kind of, maybe, in all fairness, an update given to you about what we did cover. And it would be great to have you there. I know we missed you the first time. Some more than others, I would say. And anyway, the other piece that's missing out of this is Brandon and T. We've started to meet with Brandon to break down some of those same barriers and get to know each other better, work through issues like the sewer treatment contract.
Regional wastewater. Yes.
And we've made great strides, and we've learned a lot, and we're working together better as one community. So I'm only saying this with due respect, that we have really gone down this path in a great way, and you're just about a year behind us. And I'm glad you're coming to it, but there's probably some things that could be informed to you that now would make you aware of what we're dealing with.
Well, and with all due respect to you, Councilor Jameson, I'm not a year behind anybody on anything that's going on within the city of Sioux Falls. I'm in the trenches every day, always looking for opportunity. And I work with the staff to identify all those things that will make us more efficient, more productive, and get a bigger bang for the taxpayer buck. But again, with all due respect, it was about a year ago when there was conversations about how the city and the county were not partnering, we're not doing enough together. And that was when this conversation really started. And that is why we had our team put together all the collaborative ways that we are partnering together. Certainly, we understand that the county is being stretched. We understand that. Whether it be, folks that are being arrested, to issues with alcoholism, drug abuse, homelessness, mental illness, all those things happen when you're in a growing community or growing county. But I think that, again, with all due respect, there were some comments made about a year ago that the city wasn't doing its part in terms of collaborating aggressively enough with the county. And it was with that in mind that I'm here for you today to let you know there's been such great progress made over the years, way before I was the mayor, way before you were the councilor, and we are doing good things. Now our challenge is to do even more. So again, this wasn't intended to be a scorecard. It wasn't intended to say, who's doing what and who's going to take credit for it and when did somebody start. It was truly intended not only to educate you, but maybe more importantly, to educate the people of Sioux Falls who are watching CityLink, whether it be the Minnehaha County meeting this morning or the City Council informational meeting today, to educate them all the ways that we are partnering as a city and as a county. That's the reason for the presentation today. It wasn't meant to give anybody the impression that no one was not working hard on this topic. It's an informational meeting. I gave an informational presentation, and I think that it was certainly well received within the county, and I hope that it's well received with the citizens of Sioux Falls as well.
Councilman Jameson.
I want to follow up with the origin of our discussions with the Lincoln County, Minnehaha County, and City Council. That stemmed from a presentation from Future Sioux Falls 3. And the impetus that came out of that was that a lot of the great things that have happened in our community have happened because of those cooperative agreements. And they encouraged us to push forward and find even more ways to agree, collaborate on those. They're the ones that challenged us and pushed us to do what we're doing. just so you know where our footing came from.
I think that's fine.
Any other questions? All right. Mayor, if I could ask Jeff Schmidt a couple
Sure.
questions
Jeffrey?
about one of my favorite projects.
Thank you.
And that's the fairgrounds.
Very good. Mine too.
Jeff, thank you. You are the liaison between the city and the fairgrounds, am I correct?
The mayor appointed me about 5 years ago.
Okay. Could you just, I know there's been a lot of questions about, you know, the investment that the city has made in the fairgrounds, and especially the latest one, helping out rebuild the bathrooms in the expo building.
Right. One of the things that we talk about a lot is that it's the fairgrounds. It's not the Sioux Empire Fair. And the fairgrounds are there 365 days a year. And just like your city of Sioux Falls, you have this capital cost and you have this facility that needs to stay in operation. So we have monthly meetings, and I'm out there all the time, and I spend a significant amount of time out at that facility trying to facilitate those discussions. So we do paving projects, we do street sweeping, we do mosquito spraying, we do health services events. And throughout all those things, it's trying to make that facility better so that they can continue to capture their cost and get more revenue in, because that raises that entire ship up for this community. It's a great event every time they have it out there, when they have the livestock shows or the rodeos or Benson's flea market or whatever it is. That's just something great that happens. And again, when we get challenged by, at this point, you and the mayor have challenged us and said, yeah, but it's kind of hard to use the restrooms and the facilities. Well, okay, well, how are you going to fund that? And Dick Kelly did that maybe 2 or 3 years ago and came to this body and said during the budget time, would you spend $50,000 and give that to the county? And we weren't able to do it at that time for whatever reasons. At this point, the mayor's was willing to try to put $75,000 in the capital cost to fix those restrooms. It's a $160,000 project to fix the restrooms, but it's just one of those things that we want to continue to do to try to help them out there. So a lot of things happening out at the entire fairgrounds.
Well, I just wanted to bring you up to speak to it. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm very interested in what's happening out there.
And you're out there a lot.
Over the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen marketable improvements out there. When I'm out there and talking to people, everyone's seeing those differences out there and commenting on them. So thank you for your work and keep going.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right. To move forward, we'll go to the next presentation as the CVB bid 2015-16 budget. And we will have one of Terry's staff.
A whole team of us.
Or
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here, Chairman Anderson and City Council members. Thank you for allowing us to present on behalf of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and Terry Schmidt. Terry is unfortunately out sick, away from the office with the pneumonia, so she has her whole team here covering for her. So we're here to present. I'm Maddie Burnham, Director of Sales with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. With me, I have Krista Orsak, our Director of Marketing, and Alexa Steiner, Tourism Sales Manager for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, along with our whole team. So I'm not going to announce everybody. We have placed a folder of information in front of you for you to view. These materials will be referred to during our 15-minute presentation today. We will try very hard to keep it to 15 minutes. We do have a lot to say and would like you to understand it all, so we'll be as brief as possible. We will be presenting the 2014-2015 CVB bid supplemental budget, the additional income from the 2013-14 budget, totaling $136,521, as well as presenting our 2015 and 2016 proposed CVB bid budget for next fiscal year of $2,126,000. Chairman Anderson, I would like to proceed and start with the 2014-2015 CVB bid supplemental budget. This information is included in your folder. It will look like this. It should be the top one on your sheet. It's the document titled Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Bid Budget Detail Supplemental Fiscal Year 14-15. This budget totals to $136,521, which is the net revenue over expenses from our 2013-2014 budget ending on September 30th, 2014. This additional revenue from the 13-14 budget was put into a supplemental budget for spending. Going through this budget, starting at the top, you will see $20,000. This was for administrative costs to continue our sales and marketing efforts and programs. Moving down the budget, sales development advertising was at $28,300 for 3 publications, 1 in the sports market and 2 in the meetings and conventions market. The next item is under tourism promotions and advertising. Came out to a total of $41,444 for a total of 4 publications in the travel market and 4 tourism co-ops with the South Dakota Department of Tourism, all listed on your itemized budget. The next item is the sales development marketing promotions for a total of $6,124. That was for 2 local advertising opportunities with the Argus Leader and the Business Journal. The last category is the sales development travel, which came to a total of $40,654. That includes our annual Washington, D.C. sales blitz, a peer sales blitz, along with 2 additional trade shows to Travel Media Showcase and Connect Marketplace. This brings us to the total of $136,521. The supplemental bid budget has been approved in the past several months by the Bid Board, Chamber Budget and Finance, Chamber Executive Committee, and the Chamber Board of Directors. We would now like final approval from the City Council. I will open the floor for any questions on this budget.
Any questions from the council? I see none.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool.
Next, we would like to present the 2015-2016 proposed bid budget for the CVB's next fiscal year. You will find this budget summary titled Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Budget Summary Bid October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016 included in your folder provided by Tracy Turbeck from the city. The 2015-2016 CVB bid budget totals $2,126,000. $1,972,000 of that is from bid revenue. This amount was calculated by our accounting department and is based on the history of actual collections. This is the number our accountant felt comfortable with us having a budget written for, as the CVB has been running on an average of 4% ahead of last year's collections. Should more money come in than initially budgeted for, we have already completed a $700,000 supplemental budget ready for approval should more funds be generated next budget year. The general CVB budget starts with the bid revenue I mentioned of $1,972,000. The next line item you will see is administration cost. For next year, we are presenting $854,119 for that line item. Under Program and Services, Sales Development Advertising, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Krista Orsak, our Director of Marketing.
Good afternoon. Krista Orsak, Director of Marketing for the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thanks for having us. Kicking it off with the sales development advertising for conventions, meetings, and events, a digital strategy. Before the bid was put into place back in 2009, 2010, we were spending $0 in this category. Now we are requesting $173,524, which will equate to over 1 billion impressions across 7 different platforms. We also did not have an email database, which is now exceeding 50,000 leisure travelers, group tour operators, meeting planners, and sports events organizers. And we only expect that to grow. We also now have a fully responsive, engaging, interactive website. The ROI on all of our digital advertising is tracked through the interaction through Google Analytics Builder on our website. Also through programmatic advertising, where we can tell the types of people who are converting on our goals and change it at any time if they are not. Goals such as visitor guide requests, lead generation through sweepstakes, lead generation through custom guide requests, and also hotel bookings with our new booking engine. Since our new website launched, we can directly account for 171 room nights booked and nearly over $19,000 in revenue in only 4 short months. And I'd now like to show you a sample of our digital advertising creative, some pre-roll video that we ran this summer. It'll be up on the screen. You have volume.
Your remote.
There'll be audio in a second. No audio. Okay, well, I apologize for no audio, but technical difficulties.
Sioux Falls. We are. Rethink your summer vacation destination. Discover Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls. We are here. Rethink your summer vacation destination. Discover Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls. We are here. Rethink your summer vacation destination. Discover Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls. We are here.
Okay, so we'll move right along into market takeovers, which is in the amount of $22,500. Before the bid, we had $0 in funding to pursue this opportunity. It will garner 3.3 million impressions in the coming year. Through digital advertising support for the sales team during the months they traveled to Colorado Springs, Minneapolis, and Washington, D.C. Not only awareness for group sales will be gained, but overall brand awareness for Sioux Falls as a place to visit. The return on investment is that we track every interaction through Google Analytics on our website. Ultimately, sales bookings will show success of these efforts in each market. Sports publications. We were spending just over $1,400 before the bid was put together and generating 16,500 impressions. Now we are requesting $37,690, which will garner nearly 91,000 impressions in 4 industry publications. General branding awareness in the top industry publications for sports planners will coincide with shows that the sales team attends, ultimately hoping for sports event bookings in Sioux Falls. With every ad purchased, added value such as editorial is sought out. The past year, we offered a free site visit to qualified sports event right holders and organizers. So that is also a measurement tool through these efforts. This past year, our creative included, do a Terry here, our see for free insert, and we'll pass this around so you can see that. And then also there is an increase in this budget line item from last year because we are working to, instead of doing an insert, we're going to do high impact cover placements and gatefolds, which could look like these 2 examples. Just one example. So this will allow us a lot more exposure to tell our story, and hopefully they can't miss us, especially on the front cover. The inserts did well as well because they flipped right to us, but that's where we're headed. Moving into trade publications, before the bid we were about $5,700 we could spend in trade publications, and which garnered 30,000 impressions. Now we are requesting $191,725, which will garner over 340,000 impressions across 14 industry publications. Again, general brand awareness in the top industry publications for meeting and convention planners, which also coincides with shows that the sales team attends for these markets. Again, ultimately hoping for bookings. With every ad purchased in these markets, of course, extra added value is sought in the form of editorials or banner ads on their website. This past year, we offered a free site visit to qualified planners, so we also use that as a measurement tool. The BRVIP inserts we have run for the past 3 years, so we have 3 examples that I'll pass around for you to see. The most recent one will look like the sports one, in which it's a rollout. And we really find success in those when the sales team goes to a trade show and a planner walks up and says, I've been seeing you guys everywhere in those magazines. And, before, with a limited budget, when we were placing, quarter page ads in one publication, you never heard that kind of buzz about Sioux Falls. So that's why we choose those high impact placements. So that gives us a total for sales development advertising, convention meetings and events of $425,439. We did not add a line item for miscellaneous new opportunities, but undoubtedly there will be opportunities that we would like to do or that may become available. We have a separate project list running should we have supplemental funds to continue and expand our current programs, goals, and objectives. Now I'll hand it back over to Maddie.
Thank you, Krista. Moving on down the line to sales development bidding. I will start with our first line item, which is ASA, Amateur Softball Association. We have $5,000 slated for that for next year's bid. And then I'm going to skip over the bid commitments incentives and go right into the other commitments that we know about next year. The first one being ISSA, which is the International Senior Softball Association. We met this organization at NASC, which is the National Association of Sports Commissions, a few years ago, and we've continued to build that relationship at 2 other sports industry shows we attend. We brought them in to Sioux Falls for a complimentary site visit, as Krista mentioned, our call to action for the meeting planners, and we booked their tournament for 2015 and again in 2016. So we have a line item of $3,200 in there for ISSA. The next one, Great Race at $2,500. Committed to hosting their 2016 event. Submission for the Great Race was put through our website for their request on the BRVIP program, and they came for a site visit in April, and we booked their piece of business this August for next year. So another return on investment for our marketing with the C for Free and the BRVIP complimentary site visits we offer meeting planners. The NSIC Softball Championship is the next line item at $2,500. We're committed to host their 2016 tournament and again in 2017 as Sioux Falls was awarded a 2-year hosting again. The last on our bid commitments that we are aware of for next year and committed to is the South Dakota Fire School for $2,500 for their 2016 State Fire School Conference. And then back up to the bid commitments incentives for $20,000. This is in the budget to cover any additional booking opportunities for in the year next year. Next is the sponsorships. We have $25,000 for sponsorships next year. That's kind of self-explanatory with any sponsorship opportunities that come up. Meeting Planner Incentive Program, we have $10,000 for that. This would be a new program offering organizations a signing bonus for booking their event in Sioux Falls. This would elevate Sioux Falls to compete with top destinations that are already offering financial bonuses for selecting their destinations to book. After that, we have $1,500 for bid, meetings, and leads, just meetings throughout the year, discussing lead opportunities and bids. Next is $15,000 for bid requirements and pre-promo, $7,000 for planner, promo, and gift. The next is $10,000 for site visit and FAM tours. That is the complimentary site visit program. With that $10,000, we could potentially host 15 individuals at this amount, depending on their length of stay and the depth of their site visit. Second to last is target market luncheons for $3,000. We've done those in the past to host local business leaders at a luncheon, educating them about what Sioux Falls does, requesting information about their connections, and discussing future opportunities to bring business to Sioux Falls. The last item on that category is Bid Opportunity Fund for $60,000, established by the bid board for large opportunities that would come in the next fiscal year. Moving on, that category totals $167,200. Moving on to sales development travel. Bid trips for $8,500, which includes travel expenses for the ASA bid mentioned before in bidding commitments, and it leaves an additional $5,000 for any other bid trips we have next year. Sales blitzes, we have $50,000 as a line item. This is for our geographically targeted sales blitzes Krista mentioned about the media takeovers. We are increasing our locations and going to still attend a trip to Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, adding in Colorado Springs, and then still doing a state blitz in Pierre. This focuses on all scopes of business covered by the national, regional, and state sectors. The next, we have $145 for trade and travel shows. This is for 18 industry shows in all markets. This is, before the bid, we only had budget for 12 to 14 shows. We've added even 5 new shows for the trade show schedule next year. These include the Global Pharma and Medical Meeting Summit, which would be our first medical show we would ever attend. It also includes the Go West Summit, Circle Wisconsin, Ontario Motor Coach and Association, which is up in Canada. Those all 3 would be new for the group tour market. And also NACHA, which is the North American Travel Journalists Associations, which is just that, travel journalists. We've also increased our budget for ASAE, which is the American Society of Association Executives, the largest show attended by association executives, which are the decision makers for booking future pieces of business. We are planning to increase our booth size, doubling in space, and inviting our industry partners, hotels and meeting facilities to join us on that show out in Salt Lake City for ASAE. For bid trips, sales, blitzes, and trade and travel shows, our budget totals $162,645. The last category on the budget is tourism, promotion, and advertising, and I will let Krista come back up to the mic and have Alexa tell you a little bit more about that part.
Thanks, Maddie. Okay, so tourism, promotion, and advertising, travel publications. We, before the bid, spent about $5,000 and gained 1.5 million impressions out of that spend. We are requesting $162,473, which will garner over 35 million impressions, across 17 publications. 75% of that is leisure publications that produce reader response leads. Reader response leads are when somebody requests a visitor's guide or goes online to request a visitor's guide. We get weekly spreadsheets with their contact information and they are also added to our email database. This line item also includes ad placement in leading group tour and travel agent publications to support group tour sales efforts. General branding awareness is achieved here with a call to action to come for a personalized fam trip to Sioux Falls, and is also aligned with the trade and travel shows that the sales team attends. Some of the publications also provide group tour operator leads. Next, Road to Sioux Falls, our Midcoast Sports Network television advertising campaign. This will be the second year that we will be doing this for $17,500, which will garner over 1.5 million impressions across 26 affiliates in 4 states. Exposure to the Mid-Continent Sports Network footprint to 300,000 viewers in 335 communities in North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota. And the Summit League viewing audience to increase visitation to Sioux Falls for sports events. Not only for Summit League events, but all sports events and as a general vacation trip destination. The ROI achieved through social media exposure came for a limited cost, and we look forward to growing that in the future. The 2 campaigns we did were for the Summit League this year, and then we just are wrapping up one for the LPGA Symetra Great Life Tour, and it's been successful. South Dakota Tourism Co-ops. Before the bid, we were spending about $11,000 in this category, garnering 1 million impressions. Now we are requesting $182,624, which also accounts for $150,000 in income from the Department of Tourism. This will garner 65 million impressions across 7 different co-ops. The ROI on these campaigns are reader response leads, sweepstakes entries during the winter campaign, quiz submissions, and custom guide requests during the peak campaign. This category is for a net total for tourism promotion and advertising of $362,597. Before concluding tourism, Alexa will come up and share some additional facts about travel writer and international hostings that help us gain further exposure outside of the traditional advertising methods.
Alexa Steiner, Tourism Sales Manager for the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau. Prior to 2011, an average of 4 to 6 travel media hostings per year generated just under 1 million in circulation and views. In 2014 and 15, we currently have 37 travel media hostings, reaching over 20 million in circulation and views, as well as 3 million in international circulation and views. Publications include Examiner, Essence, Oprah, Home and Away, Midwest Traveler, LA Times, Dallas Morning News, Trekkaroo, National Geographic, New York Times, Yahoo Travel, Reader's Digest, and Golf Today in Italy, as well as nationally recognized travel blogs. In the international market hostings, before 2011, there were minimal international marketing and tourism hostings in Sioux Falls. We are now able to target established international markets to discover all about the state of Sioux Falls, especially state of South Dakota, especially Sioux Falls. With their hosting of Rocky Mountain International Roundup this year, in our second year attending IPW International Powwow in partnership with the South Dakota Department of Tourism, over 30 international travel companies are currently working with the CVB to develop itineraries and establish contracts for their travelers, with hundreds of contracts and hotel rooms contracts for the future. These opportunities are all made possible by the bid. I will let Maddie conclude our presentation.
That is our complete overview of the 2015-2016 CVB bid budget for a total of $2,126,000. As you can see, we are very excited about next budget year, and we have a lot of things to talk about. Income from the bid has increased every single year since its creation in 2011, shown by the recent numbers we just shared with you, as we had $136,521 from additional revenue on September 30th at the end of our 13-14 fiscal year. When calculating that $2 per room per night bid fee, we sold an additional 68,260 rooms over our projection for that year. That business does not just decide to come to Sioux Falls on its own. Alongside with the CVB, hotels and facilities are working together to increase their number of bookings and bring business to Sioux Falls. At this time, we'd like to thank them for their hard work and support, and we'd also like to thank you for your support. We greatly appreciate your time and listening to us present. We hope we made 15 minutes, but I think we're over. We'll open the floor up now for questions.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Councilor Erfenbach?
Thank you all. I texted Terry and said it took 10 people to replace her. She says back, they're all great people. So no, she's watching you. So I did want to congratulate you and thank you for the work that you've done. This bid, you talk about how you're requesting this money, but this bid really it's growing because of the work that you're doing. And so if you could just give me kind of your elevator speech of what's the 2-sentence explanation of where this money comes from? Because it's not something that we're drumming up somewhere. We're not doing the work for this. Tell us where this bid money comes from.
Well, our increased sales and marketing efforts have definitely shown improvement in our booked business for Sioux Falls. So the bid generates $2 on every room night sold in the city with hotels with over 40 rooms or more. So when we book a convention now for 1,000 rooms and they're staying one night, we'll get $2,000 on that piece of business we're booked. So we're definitely showing return on our investment of going to the shows. Our marketing efforts, our international travelers are up. We're able now to host our own industry shows that we would usually just attend. Now we're able to host them and have 200 meeting planners in Sioux Falls as a glorified familiarization tour of the city that we would never be able to do before. Having that number of planners in Sioux Falls at one time showcasing the city that they could book future events in is unmeasurable.
Well, I always say you guys have the best jobs in town. Thanks for doing what you do. I appreciate it. I know that we vote on this later, and I expect council to approve it. So thank you.
Councilor Kiley?
First of all, please extend our best wishes to Terry, even if she is watching presently. We wish her a very speedy recovery. And she should consider herself very fortunate to have such a qualified staff to do a good job with the presentation. And that should encourage her even more to stay home until she's actually ready, health-wise, to come back to work. Okay. The other thing I'd like to say is I know that you have a number of board members here, so if you could all raise your hand, please, to indicate that you are here today, and we appreciate your attendance. That also helps to explain why it was difficult for me to find a parking spot this afternoon. On a more serious note, could you just explain to me a little bit how it is that you are able to determine which of the many strategies that you incorporate pay off the most, and so that you know from one year to the next which to invest more money and more effort in?
No, you can go back there first.
We're fortunate enough to work with a great website company that has elevated and through the bid been able to build a very well tagged, if you will, through Google Analytics website. In my marketing world, I do the best to tie every single marketing dollar we do to a direct return on investment. Sometimes that's not a hotel room booking, but it's a lead, an email that we can stay in front of that person that we know is, we can watch them through the funnel and know where they're going and what they're doing. It's through a visitor guide request, and we know that person's in the planning stage. So once we get their information, now we can send them an email to say, hey, have you got your visitor guide? Come back, start planning your itinerary. If they start planning their itinerary, then they go to the booking engine on our website, and then we have a conversion. So we talk a lot about the conversions. We watch the funnels that they're coming through. There is going to be some just, like print-wise. It's very important to have a strong call to action. But that's why we match it up with sales activities, because ultimately it will come back to the group sales bookings. But we have to have that brand awareness. We have to be, our competition is in all of those same magazines. We're now finally able to be where our competition is in those magazines. So you see, you get tons of magazines, but you have to narrow them down to the right ones where your competition is, and then match them up with the sales efforts that are taking place.
Okay, thank you. And I do realize that it's a very competitive atmosphere out there, especially in terms of attracting conventions and visitors to our city, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Jameson.
There was one item in the budget I didn't make a note, but I remembered you talking about it almost in a way that it was a pay-to-play kind of budget. Maybe that's not the right way to describe it, but where you had to incentivize the planner.
Yes, that is under the sales development bidding, and it is $10,000 for meeting planner incentive program. So our competition is basically buying business these days. So we would like to instill a program at our CVB that will allow the first 10 planners $1,000 for signing a future piece of business in Sioux Falls. So they have to sign their contracts and have them be signed by the end of our fiscal year to receive that $1,000. We have tried this in the past in different ways, and we do it on a case-by-case basis now if we have a national account that needs transportation assistance. We look at it as the benefit to the city, the economic impact, the overall hotel room nights, how many hotels it's benefiting, and we do that on a case-by-case basis, but we'd like to have something spread out to incentivize them to come and look to our website to start the conversation. So I will get $1,000 if I look at Sioux Falls and bid there within this year. Just kind of another push for them to look at us and consider us, because some people are putting large amounts on buying business to host in their city.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? I have one. What we've talked about right now is how your organization goes out and goes to these conferences, meets with these planners and people to bring people into Sioux Falls. Once you get those events, let's talk about some of the larger ones, like next year's girls' youth softball tournament that's coming in. What are some of the things that you do here to assist those people to make it easier when they get to Sioux Falls? I'm thinking more of the room reservations, things like that.
Yes, we acclaim ourselves a full-service CVB, so we offer everything from typical CVB services like name badges, registration assistance, personnel to help take tickets or greet attendees, all the way to now a housing bureau service that we can assist with registering their attendees and finding their housing blocks within the city, all the way to a complimentary customizable convention app, free of charge for the meeting planner or the event planner to have an app for their event customized by them with their logo, with their color scheme, but made by us. So it's at no cost to them for this technology that every event has, but should it be an event that moves around or that doesn't have that tech side of their planning process, we can offer that to them as a full service CVB, the one-stop shop when they come to our city, rolling out the red carpet from the moment they get here, from a welcome table at the airport in the hotel, down to welcome packets with all the literature on Sioux Falls, to a customizable app.
And then a statement I'd like to make, unless you have a question.
Oh, I'll just add a comment.
Comment I'd like to make as someone who's part of an organization or organizations that has utilized the CVB as assistance in bringing events to Sioux Falls. This group is invaluable. The things that they do out there to really help make things a lot easier for us to communicate with these organizations, to sell Sioux Falls, to let them know what a great community we have. These are the folks that are really getting out there on the front lines and making that happen. And with this bid board, something that the council did approve, and working with the hotel owners and the CVB, I think that the future is just going to be immense how we promote this city. So thank you to Terry. I know you're out there, Terry. Please get better. And to your group, you've put together a great staff. And like I said, I've worked with pretty much every one of you. Thank you for all the work you do. Councilman Jameson.
I just wanted to share that I go to the as many of the monthly CVB luncheons as I can, and partly because Terry told me to, and it seems like you just do what she says, but it's kind of amazing to go around the way they go around the room and talk about all the different events happening in town, the event center, the pavilion, the Wild Water West, everything that's going on. Everybody's got an event. They coordinate it, they explain it, they collaborate, they want everybody to know about it. There just seems to be a lot of great partnerships built with the CVB, and I can see it every month. Not everybody gets to see it that way, but it's very exciting, very interesting, and every month there's more going on than you could ever imagine in this town, and somebody holds it together, and I believe it to be the CVB. So, and as well, one other last question, could you just walk through the budget process with us to make sure we understand the cycle?
Yes, of how we recognize what we need to put on the budget.
More so about who else has looked at this budget, and when do we approve it? We approve it, I guess, in our regular budget, but who else approves this budget?
The bid board and the Chamber Budget and Finance, and Kathy, and then Chamber Executive Committee, and then their Board of Directors, and then you, the council.
So everybody's approved it except us at this point?
At this point, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. We'll be back tonight.
Okay. Next item. You have
You're ready then.
Please.
Okay. I'm going to move that we go into executive session to consult with legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation or contractual matters pursuant to South Codified Law 12523.
Second, Erickson. I'll have to second it.
Roll call. Or roll call. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Anderson. We don't usually do a roll call.
We just, that's right. We need to go into executive session. Informational will be adjourned after the executive session. Thank you.